If you're looking for a fun and simple singing game to play with your older kiddos, then look no further. CITRON is one of our favorites. So much of our favorites that I really can't believe that we've never talked about it here on YouTube, because I've been using this song and game every single year since my first year teaching, which was actually quite a few years ago now. So let's talk about CITRON, the singing game that you can use with your kiddos in upper grades to work on dotted quarter eighth notes, to do some composition, to do a singing game, and to sing in Spanish, and all of this. Oh, and strong and weak beats, meter. We talk about a lot of things in this song, so let's hop into it. And by the way, there is a freebie that I will talk about a little bit later, so make sure that you stick around. Okay, so CITRON is a singing game from Mexico, and it is pretty simple but really fun. I typically use this with my 4th and 5th graders, and it is a passing game. So the song goes like this, and I just have the kids, when I introduce it, I'll throw the lyrics up on the screen, and I will keep the beat and have them keep the beat with me. So it goes, CITRON de un fandango, sango, sango, sabare, sabare, de la rondela con su triqui, triqui, tron. I'm not a native Spanish speaker, so apologies, but slower. The words are al citron de un fandango, sango sango, sabare, sabare de la rondela con su triqui triqui tron. The words are basically nonsense. It doesn't really mean anything, but it is about a citron, which is a citrus fruit, the precursor to a lemon. So a lemon is actually, fun fact, not a natural fruit. It is a hybrid, and the citron is what it came from, which is even more bitter and even less sweet than the lemon is. So there's your little fun fact of the day. When I introduce this, like I said, I'll just sing through it a couple times, and I have the kids keep the beat with me in various different ways. And then I will talk a little bit about that meter. So this is in 2/4 time with my 4th and 5th graders, especially those 4th graders. We spend a lot of time working on time signatures, meter, all that kind of stuff. And so with this, we talk about the meter, the 2/4, and how 2/4 is like strong, weak, strong, weak. So typically I'll have them at some point, we'll keep the beat going, CITRON de un fandango, sango, sango, etc., etc., so that we can get that feeling of that strong beat. And I will also show them on the screen heartbeats where the one is larger than the second one, so that they can get that in their head and figure out kind of like the strong and weak beat relationship. That's the word I was looking for. Then after a while, we will get ready to play the game. This is a passing game, and it's pretty simple. Basically, you just pass. The video that I originally saw was some kids in, I'm assuming Mexico, so that's where the song is from, passing rocks. I usually have used cups in the past, but this year I just got a whole bunch of bean bags, so I'm excited to use bean bags instead. And so when we do the song with this, you're just passing. I have the kids pass to the right, and we practice making sure we get that downbeat. So CITRON, and I'll have them practice. We just do that. Pick it up and go CITRON, and practice that a few times before we start. Then we'll keep going. They just pass, pass, and then the very end, when it says triqui triqui tron, they go tap, tap, pass. So they keep it in their hand, and they go tap, tap, and then they pass. So it's a little bit different at the end. And the way the game is supposed to be played is if you mess that part up at the end, then you are out. To be honest, I usually don't do outs, but we just use it kind of more as like a building experience instead. But that is how the game is. It's really simple. If you're looking to do passing games, I do a lot of passing games with 5th grade. It's a really good one to start out with because it is pretty simple. There's not really complicated, and then you can kind of build from there. So that's the song and the game. When I introduce this, I already talked about how I introduced this. Then I use this song to work on dotted quarter eighth note patterns. So we'll talk about how the words, we have kind of like a long short pattern going on. So CITRON de un fandango, and I'll have the kids identify all those places where we have those long short patterns. We'll read some rhythms, calling them long short, and have them practice things that way. And then eventually I'll introduce the dotted quarter note, eighth note pattern. I do usually, when I introduce it, I will show them, I'll explain, the dot adds a half of the value, and we do all the math and all of that kind of stuff. And then at the end, I'll be like, but for now, we're pretty much always gonna see it like this. So 1.5 beats plus half a beat, that's 2 beats. So together, we know that they're 2 beats. Then after that, we can do some fun composing. So here is your freebie. Down below, I will link my free resource oh my gosh, words are not happening today. Down below, I'm going to link my free resource library. This is a webpage on my blog that has a ton of free resources that you can use. All you need to do is sign up for the email list. And then once you're on the email list, you get access to everything. So there are slides. There's a lot of Christmas stuff for some reason. I'm not really sure when that happened. There's composition activities. There's all sorts of fun things on there. And that includes, there are some different fruit themed composition cards. So these are in Spanish, as you can see, perfect for Hispanic Heritage Month. And we use these to make different, compositions that my kids can play. So typically what I like to do is we'll read the book A Song of Fruta, which is really cute if you've never seen that one. Highly recommend. It's about the people selling fruit on the side of the street and like calling out and singing the song of the fruit as they're calling out to, let people know what their wares are. And then we make our own fruit song with these. So with these we have limon. I could not find my scissors, so apologies. Naranja, plátano, arandano, because that's where the accent is. Again, not a native Spanish speaker, apologies. Manzana, fresas, so manzana, fresas. Piña, I could not get the little ñ on this font, so do apologize. Sandia, cereza, uva, those grapes, and that's all of them. So cut these out and have the kids do their own little fruit compositions along with that. I usually do it in partners, and if they're doing a good job, then I will give them some small percussion instruments, and so they and their partner can make different patterns. They can practice reading them. I like shakers, by the way, for dotted quarter note patterns, and so that is all in there. The last thing that I use my al citron lesson is also to talk about pickup notes, because this one does have that al citron. So the alci is a paired eighth note pickup. And so this is a good way to introduce pickup notes, especially to those fifth graders, because I told you fourth grade spends a lot of time on meter and all that kind of stuff. So then in fifth grade, they're ready to understand pickup notes. And a pickup note is just where you have an extra note at the beginning that actually comes from the end of the song. And so by this time, they can kind of understand that. So we'll be like, okay, I'll show the rhythm to them and have them look and see like, okay, why is there a rhythm before like anything else? Is that a whole measure? Does it have the right number of beats? And so we kind of go through all of those things and then figure out that the last measure is also missing a beat. And so that is what the pickup note is. They took the beat out of the last measure and put it in that first area because there was a pickup. So that is how we use al citron. I'm so excited that I finally got to share it with you. All of the slides that you saw on the screen, by the way, are from the al citron lesson pack. This one, by the way, got a really big update. It was either last year or the year before. So if you have the old version that doesn't match the slides that you saw, make sure you go and re-download it so you get those new ones. It is on Google Slides now. It is in regular and stick notation, and it has everything you need to teach this song, and your kiddos are gonna love it. So highly recommend you using this one. Let me know your favorite songs down below, especially if they're for upper grades and especially if they're in Spanish. And let me know if you've used this one and anything that you've done that's different, so we can get more ideas down below in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.